Healthcare professionals wanting to work in South Africa have to wait months to try and get registered by the Health Professions Council of South Africa so that they can practice legally. However, the Cuban doctors brought in to help fight COVID-19 appear to have had their registrations approved in just a matter of days. So what's the difference? Aisha Abdool Karim of the Bekisisa Center for Health Journalism joins us now for more on this. Aisha, good evening to you. Why do the Cuban doctors not have to wait to write a local exam like other doctors have had to do?
So essentially the reason why there's an exception made for the Cuban doctors goes back to the 1996 agreement that was made between the South African and Cuban governments that allowed both South African medical students to go and complete their degrees in Cuba partially, and then also allowed for Cuban doctors who had already qualified in Cuba to come and spend some time working in South African hospitals. And when this arrangement was set up as part of the Mandela Castro program, it basically needed for the Cuban medical program and the medical school curriculum to be validated by the Health Professions Council here in South Africa to make sure that the curriculum aligned with South Africa's curriculum. And because the two curriculums were enough in line that the students could go and complete their studies there, Cuban medical schools are now recognized by the Health Professions Council. Once you have this recognition, it basically allows you to register with the council without having to go through a very lengthy process, which includes writing multiple parts of an exam. And because the Cuban doctors that arrived have come from these validated universities, they were basically able to register without going through the same application process that a lot of other foreign doctors have to. This allowed them to complete the registration process in roughly 3 days.
Okay, I mean, and other foreign-trained doctors, I mean, I remember once a Deputy Director General of Health almost tearing his hair out because the Health Professions Council just wasn't registering these doctors. Why does it always seem to take so long?
Yeah, so for a lot of foreign-trained doctors, the process can take anywhere from 9 months to 2 years. And it's because the process involves multiple different steps. It's not just one application. It's about 5 to 7 different applications to multiple different bodies. And for foreign trained doctors, before you even get to the examination step, there's several other verification steps that you need to do to see if your curriculum is recognized by the council. If your curriculum isn't, you then need to do this council board exam. And the reason why there were significant delays, especially around the exam, is that the exam is only available to be taken twice a year. And before last year, you had to sit the exam at certain universities in person. And because there were limited spots available, there was basically a competition, and foreign doctors basically had to see if they could secure a spot to sit the exams in the 2 chances they had every year. And given this limited availability, it basically lengthens the process because until you've written and passed the exam, your registration process can't be completed. And without the registration process, doctors aren't able to practice in South Africa.
Aisha, it sounds, I'm sorry to say, but it sounds almost insane. We have a crying need for doctors right now. We have a Health Professions Council that we're really having competitions so that people can write exams to do something we want them to do. Excuse me, it just seems utterly mad. I mean, is there any way around this, especially during COVID-19?
Yeah, and I think, the Cuban healthcare workers being able to come in and get processed in 3 days is actually showing the way towards a solution, because it is possible for foreign trained doctors to be recognized by the council and complete the process in as little as 72 hours, as a lot of locally trained doctors are able to do. The reason why this isn't possible is because 2 years ago, in 2018, the Department of Health recognized that this was an issue, that this process was taking too long. And it recommended in a policy that the council put out a list annually and it be regularly updated to reflect universities that had degrees that were recognized here in South Africa as having curricula that were in line with South Africa's. And this would have allowed a lot of foreign trained doctors to expedite their applications because they wouldn't have to wait to write these exams. And the council is able to do this because it's done this with Cuba. The problem is that since that recommendation was made in 2018, really no process has come from the council, and to my knowledge, don't have this list. Bekisisa put in multiple requests about where the list had been and why there were delays in creating it, and they don't really have an explanation as to why they haven't done this when they have the capabilities to do so. And if they were able to recognize the curriculum of other universities, it would definitely make the process a lot smoother and faster for these foreign trained doctors that are here already in the country and just need their applications to be processed.
You have to wonder, I'm afraid, Aisha, you don't have to comment, but you have to wonder if the Health Professions Council, frankly, is serious about allowing foreign-trained doctors to come in and treat South Africans, to actually help us during this time. It doesn't seem so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a difficult situation. I'm not quite sure what the council's reasoning is. The Department of Health has said that, their hesitations lie in the fact that they want to make sure that the foreign trained doctors have qualifications that are on par with South Africa's. But again, if your concern is that their qualifications and that their knowledge is not at the same level as local doctors, then the simple step would be for the council to just release a list of universities that have curriculum that they recognize. And that would definitely make it easier for, especially now during this pandemic, a lot more doctors to start joining in the response in hospitals.